So we are almost ready to get started. I hope you are watching here and I am here, so that's good. I hope you can hear me. Uh-oh, something went wrong. Good. It's always fun to start and see if everything works out successfully. I hope you can hear me. If you're here, give me a like or put in a comment so I can see that you're watching. And yeah, we're both here on YouTube and on LinkedIn. And today's goal is to show you how to create an assessment of your migration from SAP PI to cloud integration, and show you what are the different steps that you need to perform in this. What is it that you would actually be able to see going forward and creating such an assessment. So cool, thanks for joining. I'm really excited to show this to you, and obviously I hope you can hear me. So one of the things that we do here a lot is we want to migrate or understand what our migration looks like. Can we do an assessment? Can we get to understand what is going on? And there's a lot of context to go into this one. So I just have 4 slides, I think it is, not too much, and then we can get started, and I will show you how you can actually run this assessment. So I'll show you the overview, what our vision for a migration tool is, what it looks like, what are the requirements to get started, how you install and configure, and then I will obviously perform this live. And if you have questions along the way, just put them into the chat. If you're on YouTube or if you're on LinkedIn and watch this later, I may not be able to reply on your comments, so feel free to drop me a note or something like that afterwards if there's problems. So we have created a tool to automate the migration. I know SAP also have a tool that does some of these things. We support from 7.1, where you can just take an IQ or receiver determination and migrate it fully to CPI. It has routings, it has XSLT and a lot of other functionality as part of it. As a part of this, we do have this assessment and an overview of your migration edition. We have a testing capability to take test cases on your PI system and run it on your cloud integration. And finally, we do also have a transport tool that helps you transport. So the goal is that you get time to spend time on the things where you can add the most value. To get started, you need, I guess it should be switched around, Windows, Linux, MacBook for that matter, with at least 2 GB of free memory. More is better, and if you have large systems like 100 or 500 plus integrations, you probably need a little larger computer to handle that. We use Java 8. You can either use Oracle's JDK, or you can use one of the free open JDK ones that we are also leveraging. Then you need a SAP PI system. You need 7.1 or above, which I guess is pretty simple to work with. I'm not sure if we actually would support XI 3.0. I hope. Well, let's see. If you have it and find out, then let's have a discussion then. And then you need a user with some good access. Normally, a developer user should be fine to handle these requests. And then you can get a license key at figaf.com. So let's get started. I think that was all my slides. Yes. So the first is we will go to figaf.com. Here you will go in and you would register, name and email address, get a free trial of the tool. You can use that to perform trials of the integrations that you have, and I think that is one of the key aspects that we have that makes it really easy for you to start, that you can just go get a trial license and start using it for performing these assessments. Okay, so once you get this, you go eventually get to this page. Here you can then download a jar file with the full application. Obviously, for real productive usage, we do have some other requirements. Some database, you can run it in BTP Cloud Foundry. For now, we just want to run it locally because that is way easier, and you don't have as many restrictions in most cases. Then I have copied this bat file here, and I have moved both of these into a folder. So if I just look here, this is what it looks like, the file. We use the Windows Trust Store. If you're on Mac or something else, you need to make modifications to this, and we specify that it needs to run here. I guess there is a problem here. I'm not sure what went wrong here. Is there anything else? I think there's actually a lot of problems here. Good. So what we next need to do is we just need to run this. If you have run the tool before, you may have an application. It pops up on a different screen. Sorry about that. You could look in your folder, this user or your user IRT. So in the folder, there's a folder now called Figaf IRT. Figaf IRT in my user folder. Here you can go in and you can configure there is a backup and the database is being persisted there for this. Normally it takes like 20 to 60 seconds depending on your computer to start up and get started. And yeah, if there's questions along the way, just put them into the chat and we will try to cover those as we get along with these things. My expectation is that we have done this report in like 30 minutes, hopefully more. I guess I need a little bit of computer now. It's starting to send and I can see there's a lot of CPU usage at the moment. Maybe that is also something to do with running a stream, encoding videos and viewing a lot of content. Anyway. Good. I need this browser. Okay, so now we can see that no, it's still not open. We will get a service that it has been started. Anyways, maybe it's log on mode user. So now it is, well, now 2 minutes. Okay, I need a bigger computer. So now we can go to localhost 8089. As you have specified, you can obviously move the port to something else. You need to log in with a user called superuser. Password default. I think with capital or lowercase d. With lowercase d, we need to go to the license and we get a license key here in our email. Once you sign up, so you just copy this license in, paste it here, and load the license. This would then give you access to the tool for 30 days that you can then use the services here. Next up is you go to the agents, and here we will create a new agent that points to our PO system. It is called D75. It is a PO system. I have a user called Daniel. Yeah, super. Ooh. Let's see if I can create it correctly. SAP, so I have the user here, so we would need the host name here. with now ports. Here we have 50,000 or 52,000. Confidential data, we need to specify 52,004 here. It's not really relevant, and then we press save. So we have entered the name of the system, and that should be all we need to do. We press save, and no questions for so far. And we can now check here if it is correctly. We can test the configuration, and we get a simple query. Okay, there are some problems with, or some warnings about the PI libraries, but we are not going to use the tool to manage PI scenarios, so that is all good. So next up is we need to create a CPI agent. We do have a guide here if you want to create a CPI agent, but for now we don't really need it, but we need it, so I'll just call it dummy here, and we will just copy the username, password, host, Neo Cloud Foundry, iPhone Pope. So we are not gonna really use this one. I really encourage you to create it correctly, because that would make the migration a little easier. First up is we need to get all the data from the PO system, and here we will press synchronize. We will just synchronize everything here, and this is the part that could take some time if you have a slow internet connection. A large number of objects, a lot of pre-delivered content, so it fetches all of the SAP pre-delivered contents, and these can be pretty big and require a lot of CPU usage or data to download. So we have a few minutes before this is done. If questions, then I hope you will just ask them as we get along here. And now, yeah, I can see my CPU is taking a beating, because yeah, the PI system and this stream and this trial is on the same system, so that is why it is taking a little longer than normally. So yeah, we have good time for questions. And what do we have? Business components. Yeah, so we obviously try to make it as simple as possible to give you all the data that you would need for this to work, and you would be able to manage the migration yourself. I could show it on the newer system, but I think let's just take a few minutes more just to show that we can go all the way through with setting up this this scenario. But yeah, now is a good time. If you have questions on the migration assessment or anything like that, then just put them into the chat. I think we are almost there. So it is still synchronizing. Yeah. There's not much to do with that. I'm not sure what it is doing, where it is missing something. So there's a number of operations that is missing. So you will see that it's missing some objects from time to time on some of the different objects, and then they are being imported and updated. And yeah, service interfaces, message types does take a lot of time. But yeah, this is only a one-time operation. So yeah, data types here, we have a lot still to update. So let me just duplicate here. So what's the difference between the BTP version? So of the Figaf tool, I mean. So we do deploy, it's the same version that we deploy in the BTP system. The only big difference is that and I think a lot of productive usage you would probably deploy it in BTP, because there you get both the user management, you get real access to data system or a database, and you can easily scale it up. Then you would need the cloud connector to set it up and configure. So that is probably the preferred way to run the tool. And we can see here we now have a number of different objects, and one of the things that we have is, for instance, if we look at this ICO, we may be able to see that it has child. We still needed to reconfigure or link all of these objects together. So the synchronization needs to be completed before that would happen. But yeah, it is the same version we deploy in all versions. We also can deploy it in a Docker. But yeah, it is just different ways of configuring. If you're using it in BTP, you can also subscribe to a Postgres database, and that would be where the data is stored. So you got the persistency in a Postgres database. And in real use cases, you would configure a database no matter what you're using, because running things like this in this on-prem database is not really a sufficient way to do it, because the database works okay. It is not designed for productive usage with this built-in one. That's why we recommend either you use Postgres or you use Microsoft database to handle these things. I'd hoped it would go a little faster. Oh well. 6 minutes. But questions, put them into the chat and I will cover those things. Well, we could actually start the configuration here. So to configure this, we go into our configuration here of the PI to CPI migration. We would need to create select the source agent here, and then we would select the target agent, and that was the reason we needed to create this dummy agent, because it needs to have this in place. I do hope that you create it for real, because then you get some extra benefits, like being able to migrate these objects with the click of a button, which I guess is really a good thing to be able to do that. And once it's done synchronization, it needs to link all of these objects together. Did that answer the question on the BTP? And if you have other ideas for things you want to see what can be done, how can we cover these things, then let's just talk about that. Maybe while it is being generated, I can actually show you the result that we would be getting, and then we can talk about that. So here I created a report just earlier, and let's cover what that contains and how that can be used. So here we have the report that is being created, and I think for this one I had included both so you can add multiple systems to it. Here I had added both a 7.4 system that we have in the landscape and a 7.5 system, and these are then being showed here in the report, so you just have one way of viewing what is going on here. And then if we go to the top here, we got the systems. We can enable editing. So we got the systems in place. We got the PI object, which is the ICO or the receiver destination. We got our estimate on what are the scenario types. We have done that for ICO based because we needed to find a way to do the testing of these things. Then we have parties, communication channels, name of the communication channel. I think that could give you some insight. We have the adapter type, and we have the modules that is being used here. So if there's any modules, they would show up here, giving you an idea about what is being processed on this side. Then we have the operation mapping for this, and the operation mapping content, which could be, here we have, I guess, a synchronous one with a input and response. I think there's also where we have some XSLTs involved in these things. So for instance, here we have a Java mapping that is being used in this artifact. I guess it is one of the things you need to expand and show all the lines of these ones. We have the user-defined functions that is being used, or user-defined libraries that is used for these specific ones. And I think one of the places where this really makes sense is, you're doing migration, you need to understand what are the artifacts that is being used here. Our migration tool does support this, so this is useful details on it. We got the partner of the receiver system, adapter, and we have receiver modules, and obviously here you would be able to see if it's EDI or something like that, like here. And then we have extracted data for the scenarios that we can about how many messages has been processed on this given scenario, giving you some details about what's going on and understand what you can use this process for. You can also see errors and stuff like that. But so the idea is that you can use this. It will not give you like you need to spend 50 hours on these things, or these are the scenarios that you would not be able to migrate. I hope once you get it installed and get it up and running, that you would actually go in and you would try to configure it, try to run it, and see how well it performs. What are the items that you want to be using this tool for? So once you got it up running, you can also try migrations of some of these scenarios. But obviously there is, so now it's done. There is a lot of updates and a bottleneck on the CPU process. So now we can see all the objects. If we open an ICO here, we have links to all the different artifacts that is being processed here. So we can see the communication channel operation mappings if that was involved in this one. So let's go back to the migration overview now. And now we can generate the report here, just as we saw with the current month. Fetching all the data and generating the report, and this should hopefully be a little faster. I can also see a large CPU load. And here we got the current report, which is basically the same as happened a couple of hours ago when I created this initial one. I hope you can see some of the benefits of going through this one. I know SAP also have an assessment. As I understand it, it only covers 7.5 objects at the moment. So this is one of the places where the Figaf can give you some extra insight. Maybe some of the details can give you some more insights. And also, if you have questions or comments or improvement features, we can also look at them and see what can be done and what can we actually include in some of these scenarios, because there is a lot of things you need to consider, and if there is any way that we can score these things, then that could also be important, because what is the rule to doing a migration? I don't really think that it is just that I don't think that it is just that it has it from file to file. There's a lot more that goes into these scenarios that you need to put in and say, okay, this is something that's a challenge. This is something that we need to go around and create in a different way. So that was basically what I wanted to cover in today. 24 minutes. I'm ashamed that the synchronization process took so long. Probably because we're doing live streaming at the same time, which took a lot of CPU resources, or not enough memory left on my computer. Yes. So what's the next step once you have done the assessment and want to execute the migration? Good question. And we are actually talking earlier today about what is it that you actually want to do, because getting the insight here is one thing. You need to plan a migration, and that is a huge thing. I would say that the way I would recommend is that you try and do a migration of 5-10 different scenarios, see how it works, because you now have the tool installed. There is just a single extra item that you need to get the XSLT. So we have some XSLTs that enables you to do the migration, where you can simply just click on an item here, and then you can actually migrate it if you had added the PI system correctly. It is also, and I think I'll just look at the real system, our system where we got this up and running. But I think we probably will create a new session about these. What is actually the next steps once you have defined this? But you will probably find that 70% can be migrated, and the rest you will need to find some workaround of figuring out how to perform these things. And then you need to create all the business plan, figure out the landscape you want to have, and there's a lot that goes into that, obviously. We do actually, one thing I think will be relevant is on the Figaf side. We do have some resources here on the resource section, our migration help section. I think this would be a good place also to start. We have a checklist, our estimator migration guide, and I guess we will also be adding this this assessment video here we have created in this. Other questions? Thank you. That was a good one. I'm not sure we went into full details on this, but obviously there is, depending on the size of your landscape, it is something that you need to plan together with SAP and your partner. And I think you probably want to have a consulting partner to do this migration, because it is something outside of your normal scope of work that is going on. Good. More questions? That was a good one. You're welcome. Cool. So yes, thanks for joining this. You can find there's a YouTube link. I guess you can find it on Figaf /YouTube. Otherwise, you can always see it here. So it is live recorded, and you can always see it here. I will see if I can share the. So you can see it here. It is already live. Cool. Thanks for watching. Great having you here.